All right, let's talk NBA playoffs. Western Conference Finals look like Oklahoma City is in control. You never know. They've had the 2 home games. They've held serve, and the saying goes the series doesn't start until a road team wins. Which of the 2 teams out west, OKC or Minnesota, most resembles the Cavs, or which do the Cavs most resemble from the West?
I'm going to go ahead and say Minnesota, and it's because Minnesota is a different team when they can hit threes. Julius Randle is a guy who I look as a secondary player. When Julius Randle was averaging 25, 7 and 7 and being a Swiss Army knife, they're a different team. Obviously, you got Ant. I kind of compare Ant and Donovan Mitchell, and then you look at Mobley, who can do multiple things as well in that area. I think they play a little less defense, than what the Cavs would play, and I also think they're similar because if they're knocking down shots, they can get it going quick, and it changes the complexion of who they are.
Yeah, they're nothing like OKC. So the default answer has to be Minnesota, and your point on the three-point variance and how much that dictates in Minnesota's offensive efficiency is spot on. The difference with OKC is they're a defense-based team that swarms, that hounds, that harasses, that turns every game into a muck fight. The Cavaliers want to run. They want to score. They have the second-best offensive rating in the history of the league this season. OKC's entire identity is based on the defensive end of the court. Donovan Mitchell and Ant Edwards, pick and choose your warrior, similar style players. They have the 2 bigs that initiated last year under Chris Finch with Cat and Rudy Gobert. They ended up trading Cat, getting Julius Randle in there for a little more compatibility, a la Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. I don't think they're necessarily built like Minnesota, but they for sure aren't built like OKC. So to answer this question, I think it's pretty easy. The Timberwolves, they're more built like.
Yeah, when I saw the question, my answer was exactly what you just said. I said, well, really? If I squint, maybe I can see a comparison to Minnesota, but they're definitely not OKC. And I don't know that you're going to get anybody running around saying, Cavs and the Timberwolves are twin teams. They're not. They do things differently. But because of the way it's framed, of the 2, they're much more like Minnesota. And you mentioned the shooting. I do see some similarities there, so I do think that they resemble Minnesota. I don't think they resemble OKC that much at all. The second part of that question, which was the fascinating part to me, was would the Cavs have a chance against either if they were to make the finals? And I had Minnesota, I think, would be a great series. Cleveland and Minnesota, I think the Cavs could win. Okay, they're not beating OKC. OKC, in my mind, is clearly the best team in basketball. I think they're going to win the championship, and I think if it wasn't the Pacers, that it may well have been the Knicks, but it easily would have been OKC.
It would be hard-pressed. I would look. It's a toss-up to me if they was playing Minnesota.
Do you think they could beat Minnesota in a 7-game?
Yeah.
I do, too.
They could.
I think it would be a good series, but I think the Cavs would win that series.
The other 3 teams, New York, the Pacers, obviously, and OKC, no.
Yep.
OKC might sweep them. I don't give them a game.
Minnesota?
Yeah.
No,
Cavs.
OKC plays defense, and I think that may be the thing that the Cavs need to do is yes, our offense is great, but we talk about tweaking.
Did they split their series with OKC
They
this
did.
year?
They won that incredible game
Yeah,
here,
that's what- yeah,
and then
okay.
they got blown out.
Yeah.
But
I
if
think
you
OKC
thought
would win it.
Even at full health, let's just take the injuries from the Cavs out of the equation.
Right.
If you thought the physicality Indiana played with threw Cleveland off of its offensive groove, go watch 30 seconds of OKC play defense. Look at the way Alex Caruso manhandled Nikola Jokic in Game 7, making it incredibly difficult for someone 7 inches taller than him, the best player in the world, to even catch the ball.
Yeah.
Lou Dort has put Donovan Mitchell in the torture chamber time and time again. We did
Yes,
that
he
whole
has.
breakdown in January when they played. Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams are all NBA caliber defenders, and they have 2 bigs to match up with Allen.
And they're all young,
Hartenstein.
and they're all signed.
And their general manager went to Emerson
and they
College.
got 100 first-round picks.
Yeah.
What's
even scarier, Jay, real quick on the Thunder, is if they win the championship, they can cash in all their picks for Giannis if they want. And if they lose the championship, their hand's going to be forced to cash in all their chips
Yeah,
for,
you're right.
for Giannis.
You're right.
It's really a no-lose situation.
Now, that's what we call a core 4, Kobe. That's the core right there.
That is
we
the
want.
core. And what's interesting is I know the league is anti-dynasty. That's what they're doing. They're loving the fact that every year a new champion gets a drink from the fountain. But I think that might end with Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City, I know it's always the favorite. The champion from the year before is always the favorite. We saw Boston, it didn't work out. The last 5 champions, it hasn't worked out. When I look at this OKC team, at their age, the way the team is constructed, and how they're built, like how their contracts are sitting, I can see them winning 2 and maybe 3
So
of
they
the
have
next 4.
this year, and then 2 more years after
this year.
Before Jalen Williams' extension kicks in, Chet Holmgren's extension kicks in. They'll lose Hartenstein in that point. SGA, by winning MVP, goes from $290 million max extension to a $370 million max extension.
That's going to hurt.
Hurts their ability.
Yeah, it does.
And their owner does not have pockets like Dan Gilbert. So this second apron and this new CBA that the NBA is currently under is going to hamper a team's ability to stay together.
No question.
For better or worse.